So I'm going to give my take on the QFS. We see this term bandied around a lot on the internet, and I've done a bit of research into the QFS, also known as the quantum financial system. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and what do I say? Just a lot of yeah, confusion, I would say, around what the QFS is, what it means. And I don't think any of us are going to know exactly, but I can give you my take. If it's from what I have gathered. There's yeah, there's quite a lot to it. So we'll get into it. So basically, firstly, we've got to talk about, well, what does quantum mean? If they're going to use the word quantum, quantum is really just quantum energy is like, it's the ultimate field. It's a field of energy that's all around us. And basically, when you can align or when you can tap into that energy, you're basically connecting with source. You're connecting with the ultimate energy that creates all physicality. All living beings come out of the quantum field. And when you could say it's also known as like the ether, also referred to maybe loosely as the ether, or it's also sort of referred to as a torus, like in this picture. The torus field is what creates and sustains the quantum field. And basically, we are living in it. It's living in us. It's in every cell of our body, and it's everywhere around us, in the furthest reaches of space to the tiniest, littlest, tiniest thing that you can imagine. So everything is connected by these, what they know as strings, like there's a term known as string theory. And string theory says that all matter, all things are connected with tiny strings of light. They actually are like filaments of light that connect everything. So really, so that's sort of just to give you, if people are going to use the word quantum financial system, then we need to know its context, which is obviously the very broad spectrum. So when we talk about the QFS in relation to the financial system, there's all sorts of things that it could mean. It could be a generic term for a new financial system. That's sort of the obvious one. And when I say generic, that means there's nothing specific. It's just like a very loose, it's like an umbrella term for, you could say, for this age that we're in, with blockchain coming and with quantum computers and sort of all these other things, but they are very misaligned. I believe they are very misaligned, and we'll go through that as to why I think that. It could also mean a blockchain and crypto-based system based on decentralized finance. I think that is a big part of what people mean when they say QFS. Quantum computing. Quantum computing is a whole different ball game to blockchain. I believe it's not developed yet. A lot of people say that we're going to have quantum bank accounts and all this, and that our current bank account is mirrored in a quantum computer somewhere. I actually think that's false. Quantum computers are still at least 10 years away, I believe, at least 10 years from being used in the real world, and that's probably been conservative. But there are quantum computers out there, and there's only that we know of 3 that exist. One of them with IBM, one Google, one China. China has one. And there's others that I think are getting developed. But a lot of people say the QFS is a merging of quantum computers and blockchain. And I think that they're 2 separate things. It's also referred to as a genuine competitor to the existing centralized system. And I think there is some truth to that. But bizarrely, also some people think that the new centralized digital system that's coming, i.e. CBDCs, is also a part of the QFS. So this is where it can get very confusing. And I've got a website that I'll show you that says just that. So that's a complete opposite to this wonderful, fully decentralized NESARA-like system, which also is what a lot of people see it as. Is QFS is part of NESARA-GESARA, which is the forgiveness of debt, uh, abolishing the Federal Reserve, abolishing income tax, having a flat sales tax, lots of other things like that, all the things that we love to hate. So that is, all of that is very debatable, but definitely some elements of truth in there. And some could say it's just simply a psyop. It's a psychological operation to fool us into thinking that this wonderful new system is coming and that we're all going to be sorted, and we just have to wait for the white hats or the good guys to basically ride in on their white horse and we'll all be sorted, and Trump and his allies are all going to make it all good for us. I think there is an element of truth in everything I've just said. I think that, but it depends on which angle you're looking at it from and who you're speaking to. And yeah, so hence why, no wonder there's a lot of confusion. So what we're witnessing in the world today is really it's a battle between the current, we call them the incumbents. The incumbents are the existing controllers of this world, centralized controllers, and they're pushing their great reset on what they call the 4th Industrial Revolution. And then there are other people creating a more decentralized world where we get to be our own bank. We can do peer-to-peer transacting and have complete privacy and transparency in transacting. Privacy and ID and transparency in transactions. However, I think there's actually a third group in there, which sort of sits somewhere in the middle of that. They're more pure capitalists or libertarians or anarchists, if you like. But there's quite it's basically the rich people who aren't necessarily part of the central bank system. They've profited from it and they've done very well out of it, but they are pushing back against a lot of their agenda, but they aren't totally maybe looking for full freedom like some of us are. And so I actually think that there's sort of 3 groups, basically the general lay people, as well as the current central bankers, the ones very elites at the top, and then there's the other big group of business people, investors, big hedge funds, who really don't want a bar of the whole communist agenda, but they're probably very focused on money, and some could say they're quite greedy kind of people, and they want their own power. But basically, for them, it's about money and keeping what they've already created, because they do not want a CBDC. A lot of these people are very anti the hardcore communist type agenda. So some other facts around this is that retail banks, the smaller banks, are getting caught in the middle of this. There's a whole crossfire going on here. And there's a lot of other retail banks, and I would say some good people who happen to have money who are caught up in that as well. CBDC is proposed to be linked to a digital ID for a social credit type score system. I actually think that whole narrative is dying. It's not completely dead. Well, it's in name, it's not dead at all. The CBDC has been worked on by practically every country in the world. But what a CBDC looks like is a whole nother matter. And I think that they are struggling to push through their tracking, tracing, monitoring sort of system. I believe that they are having a lot of pushback to the CBDC. So we'll have to see. We're going to see fairly soon, within the next year, we're going to see how that is tracking. But I've seen a lot of stuff that says the CBDC is going to be quite benign, certainly at the beginning. And at the beginning, it probably would be anyway, even if they do have the full-on agenda. They never come out with the full draconian type system straight up. They'll do it as a nice sweetener to try and lure you in, and slowly try and turn the screw over time. They're also trying to link transactions to a zero carbon initiative. I think that is dying as well. The whole ESG, I don't know where you know, but the BlackRock and Vanguard and some of these big hedge funds were promoting this ESG, environmental social governance, so-called social capital, and they were trying to, get all these businesses on board with this whole zero carbon thing. It's actually, they have shelved it. It's actually it's finished. The whole ESG thing is now basically, it is screwed. So if that has been screwed, you can be sure a lot of their other agendas are not going to do well either. And that may well be what they want with the CBDC as well. We could include that as highly possible. So we are winning, just wouldn't know it because they don't tell us that. But the ESG thing is dead. They do have AI, and that's a big part of the plan. And if the AI is fully centralized, then that's going to be a real problem. But if they can decentralize AI using blockchain, proper decentralized blockchain to base the AI on, then the AI will be much more beneficial, even positive for us. So it all hangs in the balance as to who really gets into power and who wins and who loses, and how awake our population are, and how much pushback we can provide as well. That's obviously a big part of it. So basically, the current system we have now is basically over. You can see that. It's really, they're just keeping it propped up just long enough so that they can switch us over to this new digital system, which I still have arguments of people online now. Still a lot of people say, oh yeah, this digital system, it's not necessarily going to happen. We can stop it and all this. I think those days are long gone. This is definitely coming, but what the digital system looks like is a whole different matter. We've got to make it as decentralized and as possible as possible. Sorry, as decentralized as possible for for us to be able to move forward with any real freedom. So that's what's up at debate. And depending on how this QFS looks is going to determine how well we can come out on the right side. I won't show this, but I have showed this before. But if anyone wants to take a photo of that link and listen to FDIC is like the big organization in America that supposedly insures your bank deposits. And they basically are discussing bank bail-ins and the fact that we have no right to know about the coming collapse. I have showed this before, so you've probably seen it. If you haven't, it's worth a listen. There's like a hot mic in there, and these guys are talking around the table about the situation and how they were saying that we have no idea what's coming. And if everyone did know, there would be mayhem in the streets. So that's a very telling video. Yeah, the rise of the new technology, what gives me great cause for hope is that this new technology, it's largely not in the hands of the old guard. The old guard definitely do have their fingerprints on some of it, and they have got a big chunk of the AI, which is a worry. But there's a lot of new players with a real conscience who are trying to do good for the world. And if the good technology wins, then the people with their agenda are going to really lose, because the technology is going to run the show. And if technology is in control, if the decentralized blockchains are in control, not the people, then we're basically going to be in a much better situation than a few psychopaths running around with their own centralized technology. The thing is, it's the centralized digital world that is the problem here. So a lot of this new technology that's coming is coming from new money, not old money. It's not coming from the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the traditional incumbent, traditional Illuminati families. And it's actually coming from different people this time. So that's something to bear in mind. Many of these of the top global payments, the big new fintech companies that are coming, the new financial technology companies, they are looking to partner with the big banks in that. And a lot of people see that as a real problem. But what if these technology companies are actually what happens if it's a real sting type of operation, where once they get the banks on board, and then they can then take them over. And that's what a lot of people say, that the Federal Reserve has been taken over, that JP Morgan's in trouble, even BlackRock. There's a lot of rumors that they are in trouble. And they are all in trouble in a way when you consider the size of the debt, which I found out today. The global debt is 300 trillion plus. And if they lose control of their system in this coming collapse, then they're done. That's say good night to them. So really, it's really they are the ones who have got all the problems. They've got the biggest problems is trying to manage it. And but unfortunately, we're going to get caught up in the chaos. So, I mean, I'm just putting out ideas there. It's just it's definitely not everyone at the top. Not everyone in the banking world are evil or anything like that. There's only a few select ones at the very top, and most of them you will never hear of and you'll never see. But the existing system is investing in this technology because they know it's coming. They've been trying to hold back this technology for decades. It has actually been out since the 70s. They've been working on open banking since 2004. Blockchain has already been out and been used well before Bitcoin. They were using blockchain before that. It's just that now they can't hold it back, and not all the technology is in the hands of the old guard. In fact, like I said, most of the technology is in the hands of a whole new group of people. So they can't hold it back anymore. So they have to start adopting it. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing if they're investing in some of this, because if we're investing in it as well, then we can get a share of the pie. That's basically the concept. And the distributed ledger technology, the DLT, that is going to be the new rails that are going to run, they're going to run some of it is going to run the CBDC. There's also other technology that's going to run CBDC. It's called Interledger Protocol, and there's others. Hyperledger Protocol is another one. But also it runs the ISO standard. The ISO 222 is the foundation. That's the foundation to this new banking system. And a lot of people associate the QFS with the ISO standard. And I think that there is some truth in that. There is some relevance in that. And then you got the stable coins and privately issued cryptocurrencies and the decentralized crypto. They are a major threat to the CBDC. And the more of us that adopt these other cryptos and decentralized cryptos and even stable coins, especially the privately issued decentralized ones, they give us a choice instead of having the CBDC. So like I've always said, I think we're going to have two main systems and they're going to run side by side. Yeah, and some of the exchanges, they're centralized exchanges, and they are being attacked by the incumbents. They're taking them over, like Binance. They got rid of the CEO of Binance. They replaced him with someone else. So this is what they do. They can't bring the whole thing down, then they just take it over and put their own people in. And that's what's happened with some of them. They act as gatekeepers. You see, they're controlling the exchanges. They're controlling the gates where money's coming into crypto and where it's coming out of crypto. The trouble is for them that there's lots of other exits and entries that are opening now. The centralized exchanges have now got a lot of competition with other decentralized platforms, other forms of payment, and other ways to cash out is coming. So basically, the way I see it, the QFS and fintechs, the financial technology, is basically it's a meshing and merging of lots of different new innovations that are coming. Artificial intelligence is going to be a big one because that's going to manage a lot of things. It's going to do a lot of things, the AI. And so it's really important that we get it out of the hands of Microsoft, that it stays open source so no one can actually own the actual code, the technology, and we keep it away from Google as well. It's got huge AI aspirations. We have to get it in the right hands and the right people. There's going to be a big push for robotics in manufacturing and in the factories particularly. There's going to be a lot of people being replaced by robots. So that's going to cause certainly initially a big dent in the jobs. So there's going to be a big reset coming around that. Just that alone is going to be a major. We're going to have virtual reality and augmented reality, the whole metaverse thing, which actually the younger people seem to love. So that's coming as well, whether we like it or not, because it's been developed particularly through the gaming sector, the gaming industry, millennials, the Gen Zs. They've been brought up with computers. They've been brought up with basically a device in their hand from when they were, very little, and they're pretty smart when it comes to technology. So it's a natural fit for them. So that's what the big driver is coming from, is the younger people. And we're going to have blockchain and crypto digital payment technology. That's a given. We know that's coming. Then we've got the Starlink connection, and a lot of people see Starlink as a big component of QFS, and that again, there might be some relevance of truth in that, but just be careful when people mention QFS. What they think is QFS could be quite different to what somebody else thinks it is. It's the same with Nasara Jasara. They're just a bunch of letters. They're just letters, and they don't all mean the same thing. That's the key thing that you've got to know here. People have belief systems that can make it mean all sorts of things. So when you see the term, you could literally see people talking about it in glowing terms, like it's going to be this amazing new world. And then you see other people talk about it as though it's the worst thing ever. So that's because everyone's getting different information, which is further confusing and muddying the waters. The other thing we're going to see is this like connection where the Internet of Things, as they call it, and where devices are going to be hooked up to the internet and smart homes and all that. There's some aspects of it that could be quite useful, but the whole agenda where you're living in this, automatic remote controlled world, to me, it just sounds like a complete dystopian nightmare as far as I'm concerned. But it might be good for certain things. But having everything connected up to me seems completely unnecessary. But anyway, it's coming. So we just have to hopefully it'll balance out to a nice, happy medium. Um, there's also new energy. Maybe there's new types of energy coming. Free energy, Tesla energy, hydrogen energy. This has now been talked about quite a lot. That will change the game. There's a massive quantum component. If energy goes into a more free energy type situation, that alone would bring so much more peace and abundance to everybody on this earth. It would be incredible. Imagine if we had free energy machines to power our homes, our factories, our cars, everything, our devices. That is a huge component of our life and where a lot of money goes. And that's why That's why they protect their energy grid and the energy system like very strongly. And they've taken out a lot of patents and a lot of people who've created free energy. So I think free energy eventually will win out, but that might take another 20, 30 years. But it certainly is on the cards. Definitely there are inventions coming that I've heard quite a few. So we'll have to see. So all of this is going to merge with, finance, media, different forms of transportation. Everything is going to start merging together, and different technologies and finance is coming together in this sort of convergence. It was also what they call the singularity. And so it's a pretty fascinating time. So when we look at the crypto side of things and the digital assets, blockchain, all of that, well, as I've mentioned, the ISO 222 standard is a big feature of that of certainly of global payments, and in reference to the QFS. And you've got the tokens, you've got XRP, XLM, XDC, Quant, Algorand. There's also another one, IOTA, as well, that I have forgotten here. And also, I think Flare, the Flare network, Flare token, and Hedera Hashgraph are going to play significant part to play in the ISOs. And so they're all working together as a group, and that makes it very powerful. So they're not working individually; they're working as a unified block, and they're working with the Russians and the BRICS nations as well as the West. So that is huge. That is really, really huge. So I think that they are just wanting to bring us as much to our knees as we can, and then they're going to bring in the reset. I actually think that the major stuff will go down next year. I think 2024 is a lead-in. It's 2025 and even late 2025, even 2026. We're going to see a lot of things happening on this earth. That's going to be quite a combination from confronting and freaky to even possibly exciting as well. Once the dust settles, I think there'll be a lot more positive stuff happening than what people realize. Especially for us, if we're getting an early start and we invest in some of these tokens that do go very, very well, that will be great help to us. But I mean, nothing is certain in this world. Everything is up for review. Everything is in play right now. Nothing is really safe. So we're all going to have to sort of go through this as a humanity. So there will be some people who will completely lose it, and there'll be other people that will thrive even on these times. So we just have to try and keep our head and stay grounded and keep our heart open, not succumb to being all mean and hard ass and that. We've got to try and have empathy and compassion for people, but not completely lose our rag if we can help it, and try and, we've got to be there to help others. For those of us who've got the ability, we're here to try and help. And we don't want to be further adding to the confusion by dividing and conquering and, running around, causing more problems. We've got to try and be a cool hand and keep cool heads. The tokenization of everything is coming as well. I think that's pretty quantum in effect. When all our assets get put on a blockchain and digitized, that is a pretty massive thing. So I'd say that there's definitely a quantum aspect to that, and it's definitely involving finances, and it's definitely a new system. So also bear in mind that crypto is both a currency and a digital asset. So that's a double positive for us. So you can use it as an alternative form of currency, which can also appreciate in value. So that is really, really, it's really quite powerful. The Lobster wallet. The Lobster wallet is the native wallet of the XLM token put out by Stellar. And there's a group called the QSI, Quantum Stellar Initiative. That's what it stands for. If you want to Google them up, they have got a website. They're promoting their version. They basically see Stellar, and they, in their view, the ISO, excuse me, the ISO standard is very much a part of the QFS. But beware when you go in the Lobster wallet, there's a lot of scam tokens in there. Just the wallet itself is fine, but anyone can put a scam token into these wallets. It's very hard to police. So don't just go in there and buy anything. And also, there was a lot of, talk that the Lobster wallet was going to hold, digital digital version of the existing businesses like Disney and Amazon, and that they are all getting rounded up, and we can buy these tokens at like cents in the dollar. That's basically the new shareholding for these companies. But that's proven to be a scam. So that's why I take what a lot of these people say with a grain of salt. They don't know any more than we do. And there is so many scam tokens in there that they were promoting was this is going to be huge and we're all going to get rich. And the lady who was really behind it, a lady called Emily, she kind of just disappeared off the the internet because, she would have been copying a lot of flack. So just beware and don't take everything you read for gospel. Then we've got the GCR, the Global Currency Reset, and how that connects with Nasara Jasara. And here's another thing where the GCR or the GRC or whatever it's called, they basically were saying that we could redeem our Zims and our dinars for years. So for years I've been hearing that from what's the lady's name? Judy Byington from, and like some of the stuff she puts out is quite interesting, but I think they're way wrong on this. But it doesn't mean that there won't be something coming in the future. I won't rule that out. I mean, a lot of people are very bullish on the dinar and the Vietnamese dong and the Zimbabwe and the Zim, especially since Zimbabwe have just started backing their currency with gold. It's very interesting. But in this new digital world where they want to digitize all currencies and they're all going to be all basically not on a floating rate, but all fixed. That's what they want. They want to fix them. So we've got to still see whether there's actually going to be money to be made in this or not. I'm still very much on the fence, even though I did buy one of those Zim bonds. I bought a $50 trillion thing, Zim thing. It cost me like $100. I thought, well, for $100 I'd do it, but don't go in heavy on this stuff. Really, I think be very, very cautious and do not put a lot of money in it. But the Nasara aspect was started off as a real thing. When NESARA was started by the USA farmers, it was really a rebellion against globalization because they were realizing that all their produce was getting priced by, by a global standard, and that they were systematically taking farmers out because they weren't able to make enough money out of the price that they were giving them. It was a complete rort. I mean, they were sort of doing it here as well. You can see it starting to happen here. So, how much do we have to pay for our own meat and produce because it's been set in a global price, and we get ripped off domestically? That's another aspect of globalization. That's partly what the farmers in America were complaining about. And now, the banks have bought up so much of their land. The farmers are just getting driven off their land. So the NESARA did start off as a real thing. And there was a NESARA bill that went through Congress. Apparently it got signed under duress by Bill Clinton. I can't say that's definitely true. It's apparently. And then apparently the very next day was 9/11 and down came the towers, and, they had NESARA was, well, sort of something to do with NESARA was in those towers, and they had a lot of gold there that was apparently for it and all this other stuff. Anyway, that's what they say. So there's going to be a lot of more questions and answers around this GCR, like what happens to the Forex market. That's the foreign exchange market. That's where they exchanging different currencies, and that's the biggest market. It's one of the biggest trading markets in the world. It's worth trillions of dollars a day are getting traded on the Forex. So what will happen to that if everything gets standardized? It's going to be really interesting. And does crypto render the GCR null and void? If everything's going on the blockchain and it's asset-backed digital currencies, well, then does all these other foreign currencies, if they're at different values, I mean, how can that work if crypto and blockchain is going to standardize everything through stable coins and all that? So there's a big unknown there. This is a big transition, and maybe eventually those markets will be destroyed, but maybe not just yet. So much money being made, it's insane. Yeah, so there's, we could ask a bunch of other questions like how it all works with the blockchain. What about gold and silver? I think gold and silver is going to be very important going forward, and I would be holding a bit of physical silver at least if I could. I do for that reason, and I think the BRICS have made it very clear they want to back their digital currencies with gold and maybe silver and other commodities like oil and wheat and other bulk grains. So I think an asset-backed currencies, that is going to kill the Fed. And I know NESARA, one of the things is in the Fed. And I really think that if the Fed went, then, asset-backed currencies could then come in. That would we could abolish fractional reserve banking. And then you're going to see real gains. And then you could say that's NESARA GESARA coming into view. But whether that happens, how long it takes, no one knows. There might be new types of cash. In America, they're talking about a new kind of cash note called the US note coming with GPS tracking and blockchain enabled. Actually having a digital signature embedded into the note that can be tracked on the blockchain, so they know where all the money is. And there's another company that's putting tiny bits of gold throughout the note. So the gold amount of gold in comparison to the size of the note. So say you had $100 note, it's literally got $100 of gold embedded into it. So this is all sort of rumors that are going around. So that'll all play a big part as well. What is the role of the CBDC? Is it going to become like a real dystopian track and trace social credit currency, or will it become more benign, like a universal basic income without any strings attached? It's possible. So we have to see about that too. And then they talk about the debt reduction and debt elimination. Well, I know that the incumbents do not want to forgive us our debt. They're going to try and make us responsible for all their debt, which is basically trillions and trillions of dollars. So there's two opposite agendas, if you like, in play here, and they're both clashing. So and really, yes. So really, this whole argument is heavily infiltrated with a lot of untruth and conjecture, rumor, people who hoping it's true without really knowing. This is what a lot of people want, so they kind of make it so to make them feel better. Basically, I think that's what a lot of it is. Hopium. So, then you got to look at the quantum computers. If they talk about quantum financial system, a lot of people think the quantum computers are going to link with blockchain. And like I said at the beginning, I don't think that's the case. Not now, maybe in 10 or 15 or 20 years. And they only have 3 computers. I mean, you imagine, quantum science is so complex, and these computers are highly unstable and very unpredictable. I mean, the technology behind quantum is just still not proven, and they're still very much in the testing phase. And so, in my view, the quantum computers aren't yet, but they could be used to crack the blockchain. And there are some people that have some concerns around quantum computers upsetting being able to hack blockchain. That is more of a concern. But again, I think that is some way off. And a lot of the big ones, the really big blockchains, the big ones, making it quantum resistant. So yeah, so that's what they've got to do, So I think a lot of them are working on that. Quantum computing doesn't work on ones or zeros. It actually calculates possibilities based on both. So in other words, a 1 and a 0 could actually be in quantum world can exist at the same time. It's not one or the other. Whereas our traditional computing is ones and zeros and many combinations of that. So like a combination of many ones and zeros could make the letter A, and then another combination will make letter B and C and so on. That's how it's done through rearranging the order of the ones and zeros. Whereas with quantum computer, it's quite different. So a lot more technical. So so they're basically quantum world. In a quantum world, you've eliminated the duality. You've eliminated the polar opposites. Everything is just one, unified whole, basically. So yeah, I think we are on the I think, as I said, the ultimate quantum computing network is a large group of awakened people, all connected by a common cause for good. We are like a quantum computer, our mind. If we all are thinking alike and we're all on the same page, we're far more powerful than any person or any cabal or even any technology in many ways, because we're the ones who create the technology and we're the ones who are going to maintain the technology. So we can also be the ones that can kill any technology that's not serving us. And we've got to agree to man the ship. So if we're awakened into a higher sort of understanding of what life is, we're not going to send the world off the cliff. So, and I think we're at that tipping point. We're on a tipping point now. A major reset's coming, even and not the artificial reset. We're coming for a major spiritual reset, and I think that is certainly quantum in nature. Belief or attachment to a dysfunctional system is a type of mental neurosis, and a lot of these people are they're psychopaths. That is a mental neurosis. Psychopaths and sociopaths, and look, there's only a very few of them in the world. So it's up to us. I really believe, in attacking the system or trying to be in denial of what's happening is not going to help us. We've got to actually participate in the new financial system. We have to get involved. That's what I love about blockchain, because anyone can get in without permission. And the more of us that participate, the more of us, then we can be the ones that steer the ship in the right direction. So everything in the world is inverted. Everything that's basically is true and good and right and godly has all been turned into the opposite. So basically the true has become false and the false has become true. And no wonder everyone's so mixed up and stressed and confused, because nothing feels right. Nothing is nothing's flowing in the world, because people are trying to force a square peg in a round hole, and forcing us to be someone we're not. And so that has to change. And this has been going on for centuries. I mean, this hasn't just happened recently. This is something humanity's been under some kind of attack by some kind of cabal for thousands of years. So it just so happens that it's happening now when we're on the planet. And financial freedom with consciousness is critical at this time. We have to have financial freedom, but we also have to understand some spiritual aspect. We have to be conscious. We have to meld the two together. And that's real freedom, is when spiritual, physical, material, mental, emotional, when all the different aspects of life come together, then we can have real freedom when they're all aligned. So it's going to be a fascinating time, and I call that the quantum freedom circle, when people are aligned in consciousness, and we're all when we're all financially free, no one's ever going to worry about money again. Then it's not going to drain us. We're not going to have any stresses around that. That's why we've got to start stepping up and taking charge. So so that's basically the end of the conversation. But also, I just was quickly going to show you this website that I found. It's called azoquantum.com. And they talk about the quantum financial system as an emerging concept that leverages quantum computing and related technologies to revolutionize finance and banking. But they say here, while still largely theoretical, the QFS promises enhanced security, efficiency, and transparency. Here's an overview of this futuristic financial model. And they say that CBDCs are a key component of this change. So whoever wrote this is obviously not, it doesn't seem like they're against the CBDC. So it's an interesting aspect. But they say here, as you go through it, that just down here, while promising experts anticipate the QFS may not be production ready for a decade or longer due to these complex challenges, emphasizing the need for coordinated efforts across multiple dimensions. And I agree with that statement. This is not production ready. They are just experimenting with the quantum computers. They do not have them. So I really think the QFS comes down to a quantum-like effect in what the blockchain can do, and digital currencies, and maybe some other technologies like AI, and linking our internet to the Starlink. And really, that's what I think the QFS is. This is a generic term for what we're talking about every week around crypto and decentralized blockchain. And yeah, it'll incorporate CBDC in that, but it doesn't have to be a nasty thing. Doesn't have to be. It's again, it's up to us. If we don't want it, we have to stand up and make it known. And yeah, so basically, I mean, what else he says here is, you could go and check out this website if you want to have a read of it. But we've come to the hour now, and I wanted to just stop it there. But that's basically my view on the QFS.